Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to a special edition of Sikh Channel Community Talk. I'm very pleased to be joined by a special guest today, Sharon Kaur Rai. Sharon, would you like to please introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Sharon Kaur Rai. Born and raised here in the UK. Have worked across a lot of different industries, but mostly spent most of my time in consultancy. The last couple of years, I've been a diversity, equity and inclusion partner for NatWest and their commercial business. It's been an interesting journey. Being an Asian woman in the UK only gives you so many qualifications, and without a HR and legal background, I can say that the last 18 months have been a very steep learning curve. But I'm really excited to be here today, and thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about my career journey with you.
Perhaps we can start at the beginning, because you started off in a sort of marketing role many years ago. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in a family business, so always helping out the family with their wider business, like a lot of families did actually. A lot of Asian families are very entrepreneurial. A lot of Sikh families very entrepreneurial, and everybody pitched in, everyone helped out. Despite being an introvert, I think I've always been able to leverage communication skills, and went into actually export marketing and sales right out of school. I worked for a very small organization in Milton Keynes. Started out as the office junior there, was promoted within a few months, and left there to go and work for a slightly larger organization before getting married and moving up to Warsaw. But I think the early days, a lot of my work was around communication, sales, business development and marketing. It was only from 2004, 2005, I stepped into the world of consultancy and economic development consultancy. And that's where my career then, took a much more interesting turn of understanding different parts of economic development, international trade, foreign investment, getting to work with agencies around the world, and really getting into business in different industry sectors.
That's tremendous. I'm pleased you mentioned Warsaw, because all the best people come from Warsaw. I do know your husband's family very well,
yeah.
And they also do a lot of service for the community. Your father-in-law has been a community sevadar for many, many years, very well known in Warsaw. So many congratulations. And how does that impact upon you in terms of the service that your own parents and your husband's parents do? Does that have an influence upon you in your career?
I think it's been a real privilege marrying into the family, and you know them probably longer than I have, even though I've been married for 21 years. We're a close family, and we support each other. I think for me in my career, my personal life, having that family support and encouragement right from day one, from mom, dad, and everyone else, and my husband as well, it's been a real enabler. And then in terms of the work we do in the community, we've run Gurmat camps, which sometimes are the highlight of the year, getting together and not just working with young people, but also meeting their parents, and just bringing that community together is so important. And I think it's something we can do more of. I just a couple of weeks ago was at a Sikh networking event in London that was organised through the Sikh network at NatWest, along with the Sikh network at a number of other big firms like KPMG and Deloitte and things. And just blown away by the level of expertise and knowledge and accomplishment in our community. So I'm here talking today, but I could give you a list of 50 people, even more, that are doing incredible stuff and having a huge impact, not just on the Sikh community, but on the wider community. And that makes you feel proud to be a part And then on a personal level, I've never been able to walk past anything. So some of my colleagues and my friends will know if somebody needs help or somebody needs something, it's not a, this isn't a feel good thing. It's just well, of course you get in and you help. And then we've got people like Ravi Singh, from Khalsa Aid, who does just incredible and phenomenal work. And again, it just makes you really proud to be Sikh and be proud of that community and that heritage and also what we've accomplished.
Absolutely. And my good friend Amrit Singh Bhaiya, he helped set up the NatWest Sikh network. Why did the NatWest Bank set up a Sikh network? What's the motivation for this business?
So NatWest have a number of employee-led networks. We have Gender Network, Multicultural Network, Disability Network. We have Armed Forces. So there's a series of networks that really help to shed a light on those particular diversity streams. Amrit set up the Sikh network 5 years ago, and he'll be able to tell you what it took to do that. But I know that our leaders have backed it and supported it. And I think it's important to have something like the Sikh network. It's about representing Sikhs that serve within the organization and their interests, but also, more importantly, I think it's about sharing our values, our culture. So the Sikh network do a brilliant job of highlighting different religious days, festivals, ceremonies, the way we operate, our values, the pillars of Sikhi. And it's important because there's got to be that visual representation and also around the decision-making tables of, are we being inclusive? Are we being diverse? Are we recognizing all the different colleagues that operate and work for us as an organization? And I think that's important for any organization to do that, to understand that diversity, but to celebrate that diversity and really recognize the value it brings to your organization. So yeah, I think Amrit would probably be the best person to talk about how it all went about. But I know that he's so incredibly respected, and he's done some brilliant work. He runs career sessions every year for young people to come and find out about more careers, not just in banking, but he'll bring together different organizations. And it's great to have an organization like NatWest that will back us on these initiatives. Just earlier today, I've been speaking to colleagues from the Sikh network about our plans for Baisakhi next year, and we've got some great ideas, and it's just wonderful to have leadership teams that also equally support that. I think we still need to get to a place where we have more leaders in senior roles at decision-making tables, and I think that's a real personal driver of mine. Of we can do the championing, we can do the rallying, we can do the charity work, but ultimately we need Sikhs to be in positions of power and influence, and be in leadership roles to bring that true sense of diversity and represent our wider communities.
Absolutely agreed. And in terms of your own role as a diversity officer in such a large organization, how far have these roles or the diversity agenda become a sort of a labeling exercise or a tick box? Is it a genuine commitment in many organizations to diversity, or is it simply now something that everybody must tick off the list?
It's a great question, and bearing in mind, I spent most of my career ignoring this agenda. When the opportunity came about, I really thought long and hard about whether this was going to be a case of cheerleading for the bank, and if there was real directive and business imperative behind it. I'm going to say the obvious. I feel like at NatWest we really have. And people listening will say, well, she works for the organization and she's the DE&I person, so of course she's going to say that. The thing that encourages me is the fact that our most senior leaders, from Alison Rose, our CEO, through to the CEO of Commercial Bank, Paul Thwaite, and that entire leadership team, back the work we do. we are making it part of our strategy. It is part of our strategy. We have goals around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We benchmark ourselves externally. We work with external organizations to ensure that we've got the right policies and practices in place. So we're in the right direction. We are ahead of other organizations, especially within the financial industry. But we're not, wherever there is, we're not there yet. And nobody is sat back going, well, we've got everything in place, so we can just relax now and let things go. There's a lot of work to do. And I think organizations like NatWest have a responsibility. And that responsibility isn't just to our colleagues or our shareholders, but it's to the communities that we serve as well. We're the UK's biggest bank. And recently we commissioned a report with Professor Mondaram from the Centre of Research into Ethnic Minority Businesses. And that report set out 10 areas where if we were to provide additional support to ethnic minority-led businesses, we would unlock billions of pounds worth of gross domestic value to the UK economy. So there's a real commercial driver there. But the fact that we're doing this work and we're doing this research and then we're looking at it and going, right, so what more can we do as an organisation to help unlock that and build those bridges? I think that, again, that just shows the investment that's being made. And it's hard work, it's complex, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But the work has to be done. It's got to be driven from the right...
Where do you think your work will take you next? Because you're at a very senior post and role in such a very large organisation. Have you reached the pinnacle of your career, or are there still further ambitions left which you wish to fulfil?
Oh, no, I definitely haven't. I still don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up. The reality is I have had a very diverse career myself. I've never been scared of trying something new. I'm also an executive leadership coach, had my own consultancy in the past, and I'm just about in the process of setting up a new consultancy practice of executive leadership coaching. So no, it's not by any means the pinnacle of my career. I think there's an awful lot more that I need to learn and I want to learn. There's an awful lot more that I can contribute. If you look at my age, I'm probably halfway through my career, but I'm very open to change. And I also really believe that every single one of us should be open to adapting and changing and growing and developing. And, and especially when you feel like you're in a place where your career is a success, that's absolutely the time to start looking at the next thing. Because if we think that we're in a great place and we start to relax, well, actually, we're going backwards. So I think from a career development perspective, there's an awful lot more that I want to do. And I'm constantly looking at the next gig, so to speak.
That's absolutely amazing and very inspiring. You're very ambitious, having achieved so much. You still want to go much further. The consultancy is so important. It's very important to be a good consultant. What about mentoring? Do you also wish to become a mentor to other females, perhaps younger than yourself, who are coming through within the NatWest or other organizations?
Yeah, I'm currently mentoring 5 people, and a few of them are from inside the organization. I also mentor entrepreneurs and business founders outside of NatWest. So I've very much kept into that entrepreneurial space and working with business leaders, delivering coaching. I've recently spoke at a financial services conference around customer experience and the value of diversity within customer experience. So the mentoring piece is really important. And actually, I'm glad you've talked about that, because I think it's something we should all be doing more of. And I don't think you should necessarily need to wait until you've reached a certain point. Because whether you are 20 years into your career or 2 years into your career, there will always be somebody that you can offer some support and guidance to. So I think there's something about us passing the ladder down and helping others. I think there's definitely more that we can do as a community to support each other and just make it a part of the way we operate. Leverage our knowledge, our experience, and support not just younger generations, but even people that are perhaps looking to change careers or looking to do something different. I think I think that mentoring and, you know, peer-to-peer coaching is incredibly important, and we should be generous with that. We absolutely should be generous with that, because you learn something as well. Every time I'm mentoring, I may be speaking to somebody about growth mindset or helping them with a particular challenge. And if I'm giving them advice, I'm having to take that advice myself. So you know, it's a two-way street. And I think the more generous we are with our time of supporting other people, actually, the more we all collectively can benefit.
And your husband and partner, how supportive was he in your career development? Were there any challenges within your family setting?
No, he's been my number one champion, and I won't embarrass him. We're a very reserved family, but he has absolutely been my number one champion. And right from day one, he's, you know, had incredible amounts of belief in me and given me the confidence and the support to do what I want to do and follow my dreams. I'm very grateful, and you know, we always talk about shared successes, and anything we achieve as a family, that's a shared success.
That's tremendous. It's so important because often people, ladies, whether they're in the Asian community or any community, often face an uphill struggle, and they often have a battle within the family as well as in the work setting. And it's very important that your husband and your wider family have been very supportive, keeping in line with the Sikh ethos of equality and seva and tolerance and supporting each other, the equality of male and female being so important in our faith. But often, as we know, culture, tradition can take over and there can be a conflict there. What advice would you give to others who haven't been so fortunate, perhaps are in a different type of setting and are having to battle both perhaps domestically and at work to succeed?
I feel like it's very easy to sit in a place of privilege and tell other people what to do when we've not had an opportunity to go through their life experiences or deal with the struggles that they've dealt with. I feel like that my own value and my own ethos is around extreme ownership. And what that comes from is, if you are somebody who wants to progress your career and you want to do something for yourself, take ownership of that. It's not about battling with your family, it's about working together. I think there's something around compromise and understanding where your family are coming from. And I want to be really careful when I'm saying this, because I don't ever want to undermine what somebody might be going through. But there's two things. There's the first thing around, what are you prepared to do yourself? And then secondly, who are you prepared to go to for that help and support and guidance? Because it always exists. And the first, biggest and bravest step that you can take is to ask a question and just to reach out. And I really believe that once you do that, everything else will flow. And above all of that is having faith as well. You know, I am a very positive person. I always have been. It doesn't mean my life has been without struggles. By far, it really hasn't. There's been, you know, a lot of things that have happened that have been outside of our control and we have to deal with. And that's true for every single one of us. That is life. Ultimately, your outcome is shaped by the way you view it, your perception, acceptance. And I think that's something I get from Sikhi as well, is that acceptance piece. Whether it's good or bad, having acceptance is really important. And maybe remaining a little stoic in that as well. You know, we tend to get very happy when there's great things happening, and we get very sad when something bad's happened, and all of a sudden, you know, oh God, why is this, and all the rest of it. Just remaining a little bit more stoic, and accepting that this is just part of life, and focusing on what you do to improve yourself, you know, spiritually, from an intellectual perspective, contributing to your community. But there's got to be a personal investment as well. And I think that's really important. One of the things that probably frustrates me the most is when I see when I see people not standing up for themselves. And it's not always an easy thing to do, but you have to start with yourself.
That's tremendous. Thank you very much for those words of advice. Staying in Chardi Kala, positivity, these are great concepts which help us throughout all the many challenges of life. Sharon Korai, thank you very much for joining Sikh Channel. You're an inspirational role model, not just for ladies. We shouldn't categorize or pigeonhole, but I think you're very inspiring for me, for everybody, young and old, in all you've achieved, and a lot more to achieve in the coming years. What's your final message to the Sikh Channel viewers, perhaps younger people who are just starting out?
For the young people, it would be the same thing that I say to my children, which is, if you are successful in following your dreams, following your passions, working to your strengths, you not only make your own life better, but you have an opportunity to serve others. If you are somebody who can't look beyond your own needs, then what can you do for your fellow human? So to our young people, it's that would be my parting message. To my brothers and sisters and elders, just continue to support and champion and be there for one another. Let's build an even stronger community. We are definitely in a place where there's some economic pressures. We saw issues around, what our Kisans went through over the last few years, and that by no end has come to an end. So there are struggles and there are issues that are bigger than sometimes what's happening in our own small lives. But if we're supporting each other, then we have an opportunity to face those bigger issues together as well. So it's that collaboration and community and brotherhood.
That's tremendous. Thank you very much. Anything we can do from Sikh Channel to support your work, and we would love to hear from you from time to time and see how you are progressing at NatWest and with your consultancy. And we'd like to connect you to some of our other consultants and senior diversity officers that we engage with here at Sikh Channel, both here in the UK and internationally. And perhaps you can assist with our mentoring. We have a mentoring scheme as well at Sikh Channel, which I'll tell you more about. Sharon Korai, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your experience with us and your ambitions and your knowledge and advice. We wish you well in your career, and please do keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
We'll give you the final word to the viewers.
Thank you.
Sorry, we'll give you the final word. I always like to give my guests the final word. I know some of our presenters at Sikh Channel like to take a lot of time during the programs, but I think it's really important for the guests to speak. And so you have the final word.
Okay, then in which case, just a massive, massive thank you for listening. I hope this has been useful. Please forgive me if I've said anything wrong, but thank you.
It's tremendous. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.